Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this mini lesson, Steven's going to be teaching you an original tune that I wrote, which I'm calling the Attitude Song. So I thought I'd talk for a minute just about the title of this tune. When I first wrote it, I wrote just the ukulele part on its own. And if you play just that part without the backing track, ba 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 da 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 ba 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 da da da, it sounds like it has some sass. It sounds like it has some grit. It has attitude to it. Now, after I wrote the ukulele part, I created the backing track, and that backing track has drums, bass, and keys on it. And when you listen to it as a whole, it really sounds like it has more groove. And I thought maybe I should call the song the Groove Song, but I don't know. It doesn't really have quite the cachet of the Attitude Song. So I thought I'd stick with the title, the Attitude Song. Now let's talk a little bit about playing this tune. You can choose to play this song solo, just the ukulele part on its own, but if you do play with the backing track, it's going to develop two areas of your musicianship. The first is timing, and the second is groove. Anytime you're playing in an ensemble setting, you get to work on both of those concepts. Now, let's take a step back. Let's talk a little bit about this lesson. And in this video, Steven's going to be teaching you how to play the entire tune. But if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, that's going to be available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, do a search for ML28. That is the lesson number for this lesson. Now, also on that page will be the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish, just a great asset in learning this tune that much easier. And last but not least, we will have backing tracks. So I'm going to upload a MP3 at 100% speed and another MP3 at 75% speed. So once you learn how to play this tune, you can rock out with the band at home. Okay, so with all that in mind, let's jump into the lesson. I'll hand it off to Steven to teach you how to play this. Don't forget to grab the baritone ukulele to follow along with, and I'll catch you at the end of the video.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this mini lesson on the Attitude Song. Now I think this is a really cool original tune from Andrew. It's super fun to play and it sounds incredible when played along with the backing track. Now you could just learn this as a solo piece, but I think you'll get so much more out of this lesson if you do practice playing along with the backing track. So it's mostly a finger picking piece, but we also have this really cool rocky sounding strummed section just to crank up the attitude to 11. Now in terms of the difficulty, I certainly wouldn't call it an easy piece to play, but it's not too difficult in terms of what the left and the right hand are doing. This piece for me is all about that rhythm, which is a little unconventional when you see it written down. So I will explain the rhythm as I always do, but try not to get too bogged down with it. I think you'll have more success if you just keep listening to this piece, keep playing along with it, and very much play it by feel. Once you have got the feel of that rhythm, it all just kind of clicks into place. Okay, so for this piece, you'll need your baritone ukulele. I guess you could play this solo on a low G standard tuned ukulele, but because you would be in a different key, you wouldn't be able to play along with the backing track. So ideally, make sure you've got your ukulele tuned to D, G, B, E, and let's get into it. This piece is in 4/4 time, so we have 4 quarter note beats to each measure, and we're aiming for a performance tempo of 100 BPM. So measures 1 and 2 should sound like this. Okay, so before we get into learning the notes and where to put our fingers, I think it would be useful to try and get our heads around that rhythm, because once you're happy with the rhythm for these 2 measures, then you're pretty much covered for the rest of the piece. Okay, so for measure 1, we play on beat 1, and then we play this double stop just before beat 2 on the A of beat 1. And that's a little unconventional. So another way to think about that is we're playing that double stop a 16th note before beat 2. Stay with me, we'll get there. Okay, so the next note we play a quarter note later on the A of beat 2. So again, like a 16th note before beat 3. And then we play the next note straight after that on beat 3. Okay, so up to this point, we're playing 1 A 3. 1 A 3. And then with the notes, 1 A 3. 1 A 3. Okay, so the rest of the measure is pretty easy now because we just finish off with these 3 eighth notes which we play on the and, 4, and. So if we put that all together, we have 1 A 3 and 4 and. Okay, 1 A 3 and 4 and. Okay, so I'll count that out on repeat a few times and see if you can join in and count along with me. So 1 A 3 and 4 and 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 1 A 3 and 4 and. So hopefully you're still with me. Into measure 2, the rhythm is essentially the same, except we don't play that last eighth note. So instead we finish with a quarter note on beat 4. So that will sound like 1 A 3 and 4. Okay, so if we put that with measure 1, we have 1 A 3 and 4 and 1 A 3 and 4. So hopefully that all makes sense to you. Even if all that theory is just a little bit too much for you, hopefully at least it's helped you kind of start to get a feel for that rhythm. Okay, so let's have a look now at the notes that we're going to apply to that rhythm. So measures 1 and 2 once again should sound like this. Okay, so for beat 1 of measure 1, we're playing the 4th string open, which we'll play with the thumb. And on the A of beat 1, we're playing this double stop where we have the 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string and our 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. So we hit that double stop on the A of beat 1, and then we want to stop it from ringing pretty quickly. So once we've hit that double stop, take your fingers off the frets, so release the pressure off those strings and that'll cut them, but we'll still have the open D string ringing from beat 1, and we want to kind of mute that as well. So with this spare kind of 2nd finger, which is just floating here, we'll just lift that over and just gently rest it on the string, on that 4th string, just to stop it from ringing. So that would sound like this. Okay, and then on the A of beat 2, we're coming up to this 2nd string at the 5th fret, which we'll hold with the 1st finger. And then straight after on beat 3, we're going to move it up to the 6th fret, and the 2nd finger will take that. Okay, because those notes happen quite quickly, they'll sound a bit cleaner if we use alternate picking with your picking hand here. So it doesn't really matter what 2 fingers you use, but just alternate to a different finger for the 2nd note. So for example, if I hit the 5th fret with my index finger, I would then switch to the middle finger for the 6th fret note. Okay, you could start with the middle finger and switch to the index, doesn't really matter, but if you do alternate those picking fingers, it'll just help those 2 notes sound a little bit cleaner. Okay, and then on the and of beat 3, we're coming back to this 5th fret note, so I'll probably just keep that 1st finger on behind, then we can just take off the 2nd finger, and then we're in position. So we pick that on the and of beat 3, and then on beat 4 we come to this 3rd string at the 7th fret. 3rd finger will take that. 1st finger can come off as you do that, because we'll need that 1st finger then to drop this down to the 5th fret on that 3rd string to complete that measure. Okay, so that measure once again. Nice. And then into measure 2, we're going to play on beat 1 this 4th string at the 5th fret. So we'll hop that 1st finger over onto that 4th string at the 5th, pick that on beat 1, and on the A of beat 1 we have this double stop of the 2nd string at the 8th fret, pinky will hold that, and then the 3rd string at the 7th fret, and our 3rd finger will take that. Then we hit that double stop, and then like we did in measure 1, we want all of that to stop ringing. So once we've played the bass note and the double stop, just take all 3 fingers off and that will mute those strings. Okay, don't take them like straight off, don't lift them fully off, just lift the pressure off the frets, but leave them gently touching the strings. And that'll give you that muted sound. Okay, so then on the A of beat 2, we're playing these same two notes we did in measure 1, this second string at the 5th fret, followed by the 6th fret note. So again, just do your alternate picking there. And then the and of beat 3, we're moving on to the 1st string at the 5th fret. So the 1st finger will take that, probably lift that 2nd finger off as you hit that 1st string note, because we'll need that 2nd finger now to play the 6th fret on the 1st string on beat 4. So those last 4 notes there are 3 and 4. And then with the first part of the measure, nice, and then with measure 1, brilliant. So let's have a go at playing those two measures through together now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then on to measures 3 and 4, they should sound like this. Okay, so measure 3, you've probably heard there, is just the same as measure 1. That's identical, so we'll not go through that one again because we know that measure. And then into measure 4, we have a nice simple rhythm this time because we're just playing on the beat, so 4 quarter notes for this measure. The first note though, we want to get into that with a slide sound, so it's going to be this 4th string at the 7th fret. That's the note that we want to hear, but we're going to slide into it from the 5th fret. So we'll use the 3rd finger for it. Start on that 5th fret, but we don't want to hear that 5th fret note. That's not part of this slide. So as soon as you hit that string at the 5th fret, kind of start that slide as you hit the string. So the only note that we're hearing is that 7th fret note, but we're getting that slide sound into it. So don't linger on that 5th fret. Don't want to hear that 5th fret slide straight into it. Okay, so that's beat 1. And then on beat 2, we're going to move it down 2 frets to that 5th fret. And I'd probably keep the 3rd finger on and just move the whole hand down 2 frets so the 3rd finger's still on that string. And then we hit that 5th fret on beat 2. And then on beat 3, we're going to move to the 3rd fret. So the 1st finger will take over now. So 3rd comes off. 1st finger goes onto that 3rd fret, and then on beat 4, we'll drop that 1st finger down 1 more fret to the 2nd to finish off that measure. So just, and then with measure 3, okay, so let's have a go at playing those two measures through together now. 1, 2, 3, 4. So on to measures 5 and 6, they should sound like this. So sometimes music can hit you right in the feels, and when this pretty simple change to an F5 chord happens, along with that backing track, it just gets me right in that spot. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, so for beat 1 of measure 5, we're on the 4th string at the 3rd fret, which we'll hold with the 1st finger. And to get into that, we've just moved up from the 2nd fret, where we were at the end of measure 4. So pretty easy, just to move up 1 fret for beat 1 of measure 5. And then this double stop, we're playing the 2nd string at the 6th fret with the pinky, and then the 5th fret on this 3rd string with the 3rd finger. So this is just the same shape as that G5 chord that we were holding in measure 2. We're just 2 frets lower, okay? And again, we want to do that muting sound, so we'll take the pressure off these 3 strings after we've played them. Okay, and then the rest of this measure is very easy because it's just the same as measure 1. Okay, identical there, so we'll not go through all that again. and then into measure 6. This is also quite straightforward because it's just the same as measure 2. So we're on this G5 chord again, and that's all identical, as I say, to measure 2. Okay, so with measure 5, those two measures again should sound like this. Okay, so let's have a go at playing those two measures through together now. 1, 2, 3, 4. On to measures 7 and 8 now, they should sound like this. Okay, so these are mostly just the same as measures 3 and 4, apart from that very last note at the end of measure 8. Everything before that last note, identical to measures 3 and 4. So for measure 7, this is just measure 3, which is also the same as measure 1. So we've seen that a couple of times before. And then into measure 8, we start with these same 3 bass notes that we had in measure 4. So we slide up to the 7th fret on beat 1, back down to the 5th for beat 2, and then switch to the 3rd fret for beat 3. So that's all familiar, we've seen that before. But now to finish off this measure 8, instead of dropping down to the 2nd fret, like we did in measure 4, instead we're going to come up to this 3rd string at the 5th fret, and the 3rd finger will take that. Okay, so that note there is the only difference there. So just that measure 8 once again. Okay, and then with measure 7. Nice. So let's have a go at playing those two measures through together now. 1, 2, 3, 4. So on to measures 9 and 10, we're moving into that strummed section now where the rhythm changes here. So those two measures should sound like this. Okay, so measure 9, you can hear there is played 3 times, and then we finish with one playthrough of measure 10. So I think before we look at kind of what we're doing with our hands, again, let's just study that rhythm and make sure we understand it. So for measure 9, we play on beat 1, and then like in the previous section, we play again on the A of beat 1, but then this time we play again on beat 2, straight after the A. So we would have 1, A, 2. That's our first part of measure 9. 1, A, 2. Okay, and then a beat later, on beat 3, we play these two 8th notes. So we play on beat 3, and then the and of beat 3. So 1, A, 2, 3, and. 1, A, 2, 3, and. And then we finish this measure with this run of 16th notes. So we have 4 E and A. So altogether, we would have 1, A, 2, 3, and 4 E and a 1, A, 2, 3, and 4 E and a 1, A, 2, 3, and 4 E and a. Okay, so into measure 10, we then play this run of 16th notes over beat 1 and beat 2. So we have 1 E and a, 2 E and a, and then we finish on beat 3. And then we play once more on beat 4 with this 12th fret note up here. Okay, so that measure 10 is 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3, 4. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3, 4. Okay, so altogether, measures 9 and 10 would sound like this. 1, A, 2, 3, and 4 E and a 1, A, 2, 3, and 4 E and a 1, A, 2. 3 and 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, 4. Okay, that sounds crazy. It's a lot easier when you play it and when you're strumming it, so we'll break that down now. We'll have a look at what we're playing and the strumming pattern, and hopefully when we've done all of that, it should all tie it together quite nicely. Okay, so for beat 1 of measure 9, we're on this A5 chord. We'll want to bar across the 2nd fret with our 1st finger. But we don't have to worry about these first 2 strings. We just want to make sure we've got good pressure on the bottom 2 strings, because the top 2 strings are going to be covered by these 2 fingers, our pinky and our 3rd finger, and they're going to stretch up and take the 5th fret on the 1st and 2nd string. And that is a bit of a stretch, especially on a baritone with a slightly longer scale. That can be quite a difficult chord to hold if you don't have kind of good dexterity or you've got little fingers. So it might take a bit of practice just to get that chord comfortable. And just make sure when you're holding it, all 4 strings are ringing nicely and there's no muting or buzzing. Okay. So once we have that chord held, that is it for measure 9. We just hold that chord throughout, but we have this kind of strumming pattern and alternating between muted strings and fretted strings, and it gets a bit tricky. So let's have a look at how we're going to do it. So on beat 1, we'll hit that chord with a down strum. And then on the A of beat 1, we'll come up with an up strum. And then straight after on beat 2, follow that with another down strum. And then when we've hit the chord on beat 2, we'll take the pressure off, leave the fingers touching the strings, but take the pressure off the frets just to mute that chord. So that's the first bit. 1 and 2. Okay. And then on beat 3, we do a down strum of the muted strings. So keep the pressure off and then hit the muted strings with a down strum. And then on the and of beat 3, we'll do another down strum. Okay. So those 2 chords on beat 3 and the and of beat 3, 2 muted down strums. 3 and. So with the first part of that measure, 1 and 2, 3 and. Okay, and then to finish the measure, we're going to play these 16th note chords, but the first 2 will be fretted and the second 2 will be muted. So for the 4E, we'll put the pressure back on, hit that with a down strum and then an up strum. And then for the and A, do the same again, down strum, up strum, but this time on muted strings. So take the pressure off, and that finishes that measure. So 4E and A, 4E and A, down, up, down, up. Okay, so the whole measure together, quite slowly. So that was it played 3 times as it should be. Okay, but then at tempo, it's more like. Okay, so practice that. Might take a while just to get that kind of muting, pressure, strumming pattern all sorted, because it is a little bit of a rhythmically tricky measure, and the strumming is a little bit tricky. So spend a bit of time with that if you need to. Keep listening to it, maybe slow it down, and you'll get that sounding really good. So then into measure 10, we're just going to move this chord up 1 fret. So we're at 3, 3, 6, 6. And we're going to play these alternating down and up strums to achieve these 16th notes. So 1 E and A will be achieved with a down, up, and then 2 E and A, we'll do the same again, down, up, down, up. 1 E and A, 2 E and A. But then in tempo, it's more like 1 E and A, 2 E and A. Okay, and then on beat 3, we just move that chord back down 1 fret to where it was, so 2, 2, 5, 5, and then we hit that chord with a down strum on beat 3, and then we take the pressure off the chord to mute it after we've hit it. Okay, so just that section there. 1 1 E and a 2 E and a 3. Okay, and then we finish off this measure on beat 4 by moving up to the 4th string at the 12th fret. Probably use the 2nd finger because it's the only finger that's free there, so we'll move it up, put the 2nd finger on at the 12th, let it ring for a short duration before sliding it down the neck. Okay, and don't slide it down to anywhere in particular, just somewhere down there. When you get to this kind of area, just take it off, because then on the beat 1 of the next measure, measure 11, we'll want that open D string. Okay, so just that measure 10 once again. And then if I play measure 9 3 times, as it should be played, into that measure 10 once more, we would have... Nice. Okay, so let's have a go at playing those two measures through together now. 1, 2, 3, 4. So measures 11 all the way through to 17 are just the same as measures 1 to 7. So we've seen these before, so that should sound like this. And then into measure 18, we have this run of nice little 8th notes that just take us into the ending for this piece. So measures 18, 19 and 20 should sound like this. Nice. So at the end of measure 17, we've got our first finger on the 3rd string at the 5th fret. So into measure 18, what we'll do is we'll put our 3rd finger onto the 4th string at the 7th fret. The first finger can come off as we do that. So we'll hit that on beat 1. And then the and of beat 1, we move to the 3rd string at the 6th fret. 2nd finger will take that. 3rd finger comes off as we do it. And then use that 3rd finger to move it up to the 7th fret for beat 2. Then the and of beat 2, we're going to move on to the 2nd string at the 5th fret. 1st finger will take that. 3rd finger comes off as we do it. 2nd finger will move it up to the 6th fret, and then the and of beat 3, the pinky, will take us up to the 8th fret on that 2nd string. And the fingers behind can just come off as we do that. And then on beat 4, we move it over to the 1st string at the 5th fret. 1st finger will take that, pinky comes off, and then the and of beat 4, the end of this measure, that pinky will stretch up to the 9th fret and pick that note there at the end. Okay, so that run of notes there again. Nice. And then into measure 19, we just move that pinky up 1 fret to the 10th, hit that on beat 1, and let that ring out for the entire measure. And then for measure 20, to finish off, we just have this nice D5 chord, which we've seen before. So fingers on, and then we just play the bottom 3 strings, the 4th, the 3rd and the 2nd, and you could pick those strings. And when I do the performance video, I use my thumb just to do a little sort of fast strum through those strings, finishing on that 2nd string. Okay, so it doesn't matter how you play that chord, you choose a bit of artistic interpretation there, whatever you think sounds best. So once again, if I play measure 17 and 18 and 19 and 20, so that 4-bar section should sound like this. Nice. So let's have a go at playing those 4 measures through together now. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Alright guys, so this week's ukulele lesson was a lot of fun. This is a great tune for working on playing in an ensemble setting. So if you want to work on your timing or your groove chops, this is the perfect lesson to do just that. Now I wanted to give you a friendly reminder before we wrap up that if you did want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records, that was available at this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for ML28. That was the lesson number for this lesson. Also on that page is the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer, so you can literally hit play, watch the tabs scroll across in real time, highlight bars, slow it down, loop sections, all that fun jazz. Plus, don't forget, we have backing tracks for this tune. I have uploaded a 100% speed MP3 and a 75% speed MP3. So when you do finish learning this tune, you've got it all practiced and you've got it down, you can rock out with the band at home. So guys, I hope you enjoyed learning this, and we'll catch you in the next lesson. Take care.